Hello there. Ethan Quant, your host for Innovators Impact, the number one business podcast in the Bahamas and the region. I'm so excited about this particular episode because it gives me an opportunity to reconnect with somebody who I've personally gained so much insight into business from. Our guest today is a former CEO of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, is a hospitality sector veteran, and has experience in business consulting, fintech, and digital payments. Our guest today is the principal of Jeffrey Beckles Associates, none other than Mr. Jeffrey Beckles himself.
Thank you. Good to be here, Ethan. It's a great time to reconnect, and I'm just happy about the conversation we're going to have today.
For those who may not be familiar with Jeffrey Beckles, I just want you to share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you for that. I just want to start by saying I'll answer the first part of your comment and about why we exist and why I may have had a role at the Chamber of Commerce, which was an exciting time for me and for the country. It was also who I am, my ability to be able to have a conversation with you as an aspiring business owner, entrepreneur, and to do what I can to facilitate your progress. And I'm very happy today to say that I'm pleased that I've had a little role in giving you that extra oomph, that extra encouragement, because I think that's really what we as experienced business persons, experienced in life, I think that's what we ought to be. That's the thing that we ought to be focusing on. How can I help the next person, even if they're going to be better than me? How can I put myself in a way that'll help them to learn more, to be more, so that in years to come, they get to do the very same thing for someone else. So I'm happy to do that and happy that I did. As far as who I am today, I'll start with the end. I am the principal of Jeffrey Beckles Associates, which is a business advisory group providing corporate services, compliance, digital advice, fintech advice. The journey here has been an enjoyable one. Consulting is something that I've always wanted to do. And one of the things that I gave myself the focus to do was to look at where I wanted to be and think about that and look backward and ask myself one question. If I want to be this, how do I get there from where I am? And so a simple thing that I applied, I never wanted to work for anybody else or any other entity other than a A-class company. A company that was a benchmark, a company that was focused, that had vision, a company that invested in its people, one that wasn't afraid to say, you go be the best that you can be and we'll guide you. And I've been fortunate enough to do that with several of my work experiences. And the other thing I did, I gave myself 5 years of each of those entities. I didn't want to be for 10, 15, 20 years because that simply was not going to allow me the opportunity to learn, go there, having known what it is I want from them, when I got it, and when it was time to leave. And so it allowed me to stay on track in a very measurable way of learning, becoming better, trial and error, and move to the next stage of my life, which was the next opportunity. In addition to that, it allowed me to expand my diversity in my experiences. And that, in great part, caused me to be able to expand my thinking, expand my perspective, engage people from different sectors, so that not that I become an expert, but what it did was allowed me to think very differently about processes and understand more how they got to be successful in their particular business. So I've been able to have that journey, be fortunate enough to have that journey, and so here I am today.
Talk to me a little bit more about Jeffrey Beckles and Associates. Like, what is it exactly that you guys do there? What is it that you hope? Who do you serve? And what impact do you guys want to have?
We have a strong focus on business, small businesses in particular. We provide guidance from advisory services to business plan writing. We do financial assessments for entities. We provide, in addition to that, corporate services, government relations. One of the things we learned about the small business sector is that while the small business sector is designated as a backbone of most economies, it is also the most underserved sector. There are a lot of small businesses out there with great ideas, but have no idea how to turn those ideas into an executable plan. They have a lot of great ideas, but don't realize that their ideas, without having the ability to develop it or to partner with someone who can develop it, is just an idea. And then the third element is, yes, you may have an idea that needs to be developed, but you may not be the best at executing it. One of the things we focus on is helping small businesses understand you have an idea, how to turn that idea into a plan, how to turn that plan into an executable process where you can now know how to deliver it. And then to understand what their staffing needs are, what their financial needs are. Many businesses are running on a day-to-day basis, not really understanding if they're making a profit. And so we try to help them understand what are these fundamental things, these basic things that are required to be successful, so that we can overcome that designation of 3-year lifespan in the small business sector. And so we give ourselves to that. And then on the corporate side, we represent clients in a number of sectors: energy, education, manufacturing. And so we find ourselves being very diverse in what we offer, but to the point where we don't get into an area we know nothing about. And we pride ourselves in being able to do that. More recently, we've expanded our ability to give advice in the fintech and digital space, which is an evolving sector for the Bahamas and the region by extension. And so what is important for us is we don't get into areas we know nothing about. We prefer to point you in the right direction and connect you. And part of what we do is we connect our clients with people who are experts in that field, so that they are connected to people who speak their language. They're connected to people who understand the business far better than they. And it kind of gives the business owner a different perspective too, because it opens up their world to a totally different sector, totally different ability to dialogue with people they would have not normally been in dialogue with.
Well, and I think this is a global issue, but a lot of people get into business because they're good at the thing,
Right.
but they know nothing about business.
Right.
And so even in that regard, at what point does the individual with the idea, the individual who has this burning desire to do something greater, like at what point do they call you for counsel?
Well, it's an interesting question, because if we judge it by the experience, most small businesses won't call. Right?
Exactly.
They either stumble on you on the way to the grave, after being rejected by a bank, or not being able to make progress, and so they become very frustrated. What we're trying to do is reverse that trend. Get the help before you begin to get into the deeper end of the pool, as it were.
But it's interesting because, as a small business owner myself, right? Like I started my first company when I was 24. And so I went to the School of Hard Knocks, but I was fortunate to have, experienced and seasoned and successful business people in my life to sort of guide and mentor me and kind of poke me a little bit, right? And really challenge me. But I find that, just doing business in the Bahamas is extremely difficult, right? And even outside of, getting all the regulatory things sorted out, the banking system, I feel, is not really set up for small business growth and development, right? They aren't for the small business person. You could go into a bank now and get a loan, a $5,000 loan for a vacation, but you can't get a $5,000 unsecured loan for a business startup, right? You can go and get a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 loan for a car, but not for a business. And so what do you have to say to people who have financial records, who have a healthy business, but are still unable to access financing and capital to really not even launch, but in this instance, to grow and scale their business?
One of the challenges is that we've been taught that there was no other way. You had to go to a traditional institution to borrow money. And for centuries, we've been taught that's the only road that's going to take you to where you need to get. Going to traditional lending institutions is not the only way to find funding. There is private money out there. There are individuals in this country who are prepared to invest in small businesses. The requirements remain the same. You still have to prove viability. You still have to prove credibility. You still have to prove reliability. The challenge is private money, while it may be more willing, is not going to forego you proving your viability as a potential creditor to them. How can you help me find money to fund my $100,000 idea, my $500,000 idea, my $2 million idea? They're coming more and more frequently today because they're beginning to understand and appreciate there is liquidity in private lending.
At Lifestyles Digital Media Group, we specialize in creating compelling corporate content that enhances your internal and external communication efforts.
Our clients come from a cross-section of industries such as banking and finance, healthcare, insurance, and many more.
At Lifestyles Digital Media Group, excellence is the standard.
Our highly skilled and passionate team knows how to produce content that will resonate with your audience and significantly boost engagement rates.
Let us help you tell your story, connect with your audience, and achieve your business goals.
The team here at Lifestyles Digital Media Group would love to help you get seen, be heard, and make an impact. We run into entrepreneurs all the time that don't necessarily want to, quote unquote, put themselves out there, right? I'm a firm believer in self-promotion. I'm a firm believer in promoting your business, especially with the age of social media, the internet, platforms like YouTube, Instagram, all these stuff, right? Like it's almost as if I remember you weren't a real business unless you had a landline when I first started, right? Yeah. And so now it's like you're not a real business unless you have this this digital presence as well, right? Can you speak to how do you guide business owners on that aspect of promotion and marketing and really putting themselves out there in the digital space?
I would say it this way. We've heard this term branding. I mean, we have branding everywhere. You got to promote your brand. You've got to create a brand. You've got to protect your brand. It's important to understand that even here in the Bahamas, the market has shifted. People are online. COVID gave us a bit of an insight into that. But more important today, after COVID, people are still predominantly online. The fact of the matter is people are online. How do I connect? Where do I connect? I have to connect to where people are. And that has given rise to digital presence. That has given rise to digital platforms and digital payments and all these digitized solutions because people have changed their retail address. It's home. It's online. Right. And so entrepreneurs must appreciate the fact that the people that I want to talk to are actually at home now. They're online on all these platforms, and therefore I have to go there. Not only have to go there, I have to make sure that my presence there is appealing and attractive enough to cause people to pay attention.
And I'm so glad to hear you say that because even though our primary target market for lifestyles is corporate, right? Like we decided, last year that we were going to niche down and focus on corporate content. We have seen an increase in the amount of founders and business owners who are reaching out to us and saying, hey, you know what? I want to develop my personal brand in tandem with developing the business brand. And I know that's because people are interested in people. Yes. I've heard many years ago that people don't do business with businesses, they do business with people. Mm-hmm. And so we actually have seen an uptick in the amount of clients, founders, small business owners who are coming out and saying, you know what, I really want to put myself out there, put my brand out there, and really get people familiar with my story.
Right.
And I know that that's a big part of the success in business now is, and not even just from a personal branding or small business standpoint, but even now corporate is saying that we need to humanize our brand by sharing the stories of our team members. So that's something definitely we're seeing an uptick in here at Lifestyles as we produce this content for clients. But now, even talking about the digital space, right? Because I know you do work in the fintech and digital payment space, right? Why is it that I am still having to make deposits to people's accounts, or people are still calling me for cash if I want to service? And the thing is that if I don't, somebody asked me the other day if I could come and pick up a check, and I was like, what? I mean, I still went because it was a check, but when I'm in the States, I use Apple Pay. Like you just touch the phone. You use all these different forms of digital payment. Why is it that in the Bahamas, and we are still so far behind the times in that, as far as the ability or even the adoption, rather? Because I know the ability is there, the platforms are there, but the adoption of small businesses, entrepreneurs, to really embrace this digital payment.
It's a loaded question, right? I'll just say this: it's culture. It's based in culture. We have been culturalized to believe that cash is the only way, that cash will be the only way, that cash will be here as long as it's long. We've not been astute enough to help people through the educational portal to understand that the Bahamas doesn't exist in a silo. It doesn't do business with itself. It does business on a global basis. Which means then that as the global business environment changes, we have to be careful to adapt. And we've not been as quick to adapt. We sometimes feel like it will come back. It's not going to come back. The wheel turns, but you're not going to find that spot in the wheel twice. Secondly, we know better. And how do I know that? There were record numbers of Bahamians traveling this summer, last summer. Mind you, in a post-COVID environment, right? The average Bahamian behaves very much like a digitized citizen when they get on the plane. From the time they check in, they have no choice because you can't check in with cash. You can't check your bag with cash. Right. It's a digital payment. When they go to other entities and shop around the world, they see less and less cash registers with people manning them. They realize that, wait a minute, there is a way to pay, and that pay is not cash. So we do have the ability to think beyond it, but then we come back home to our culture that says, I'm okay. And I think in great part, that's slowing the process of learning, slowing the process of adoption. You mentioned Apple Pay. Apple Pay will be in the Bahamas very shortly as an active solution in a digital wallet. Google Pay will be in the Bahamas, and we're doing those things. And we'll see those things come on stream very shortly. Why? Because the world has adopted a very different attitude toward digital payments. Well, the Bahamas is now realizing, hey, wait a minute, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. Can we do that in a safe, secure environment? Yes, we can do that. Can we do that in a way that I can track my money? Yes, because Bahamians are like any other consumer. They always want to know where their money is, can I see it, and can I look at my balance? Because they feel that if they can see it, fine. But Bahamians are also realizing, like many other countries in the world, I won't always be able to touch my dollar, but I should always be able to know where it is.
It's a different operation when it's just you. One, two, now building a team and scaling and really trying to grow the business. How do you all assist in that process? Because I find that a lot of businesses live and die with that one person, right? Yeah. And so they never get out of the business. How do you aid or assist entrepreneurs to grow and scale their business so that they're not necessarily working in the business, but working on the business?
Two things that you mentioned are both important elements in what we do. One, you mentioned profitability. We try to help the client to understand, first of all, is your business profitable? Because we can't have a conversation about scalability unless you're making money, because you need to be able to have money to pay people, right? And the cost of employment, all of that is extremely high. So we don't take your word for it. We look at your records to ensure that you actually are profitable. And then the other side is we look at the market you're in versus the products you offer, products or services. What has been your growth trend over the last 3-5 years? What's the demand for that extra body? And what is that body going to do to help to what? Drive revenue, improve efficiency, and therefore impact positively your bottom line.
Wow, that's incredible. Jeff, where can people, they want to reach out to you, they want to seek your services, consult, where can people reach out to you?
Primarily, I'm on LinkedIn, where we get most of our business contacts. We do have a Facebook page, and we are located here in the West in the Access co-work space. But you can also hit us up at our email address is jeffrey@jeffreybeckelsassociates.com. Our numbers are 242-677-8950. We'll be happy to speak with you. And we have a very robust workshop schedule. We get invited to speak at churches. We get invited to speak at organizations, NGOs. We get invited. We work closely with the SBDC. We work with the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce. We work with the small business environment to ensure that businesses get the best advice before they jump into the deep end of the pool.
And Jeffrey, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing some insights, because I do think time allotted was not enough. Like we could go on and on, but I do feel that there was some nuggets and some key points that people can take away from the episode. So I do thank you for your time.
There's an answer. Find the people who know how and talk to them before you take your first step out there.
All right, guys, there you have it. We just wrapped up this amazing and insightful conversation with the one and only Mr. Jeffrey Beckles, principal of Jeffrey Beckles Associates. And as you heard in this episode, there was a lot of information and insights shared for entrepreneurs, business owners, and corporations who want the expertise from Mr. Beckles and his team there at Jeffrey Beckles Associates. So feel free to share this episode with somebody that you think may find value in it. And of course, like and subscribe to the channel. And definitely, please leave a comment. If there's something that we didn't cover in this conversation, please let us know in the comments, and we'll be sure to get that information to Mr. Beckles and his team. Thank you again for your time and attention. Until next time, I'm Ethan Quant, your host for Innovators Impact, the #1 business podcast in the Bahamas and the region. Goodbye.